Hello, our lovelies. You got Joanne and Elizabeth here with World's Cup of Joe. Awaken your soul. This is your home for all spiritual awakening, raising your consciousness, and becoming one with your soul. If you are in the twin flame journey, you are literally tapping into this balanced union energy that me and Elizabeth emulate every day. And we are expanding our consciousness even more, my loves. And we always want to be as honest, as truthful, and raw with all of you. And as we continue to shift and grow, we want you to all shift and grow along with us. And so if you found this channel, your soul was ready for these truths. And if you found this channel, we want you to really feel the shifts that are happening between you, your connection, and your journey. So me and Elizabeth are always asking how much deeper we can be in soul. And the downloads that are coming up for us, love, are, they're like way soul mode. And we have come to this place where we don't want to close those information from you guys, even though there's a lot of people that are obsessed and in addictive energy regarding their twin flames. We truly believe that being in this energy and hearing the shifts of what this journey provides will help everyone. And so if me and Elizabeth limited ourselves from sharing the things that are allowing us to shift deeper in our journey, we're giving all of you this service. It's almost that part of us that's like sitting around and only giving what we think you want to hear versus really telling you and sharing with you what you should hear. You should hear deeper ways to get deeper in soul. Although our mind, right, your mind wants to get deeper in your twin flame because we're so obsessed and we make it all about them, we can easily lose that part of you, all of you beautiful souls, that is meant for more, that is meant to expand, that is meant to grow. So in this channel, this gem that you found in your journey, we want you to know you're growing and shifting along with us. So the things we share are the downloads we receive that soul shares with us. And we don't want to hide them because we think that we just have to talk about twin flames in this channel. Yes, we are both twin flames. Yes, we are both in permanent relating experiences. Yes, we are both in union with our twin flames, and we are in this balanced energy that we can emulate and teach and guide you and allow you to be in permanent relating experiences if you so choose. But to get here, it wasn't just about our twin flames, and it's still not about just our twin flames. And so the things that you find in this channel, the topics you'll find in this channel, the conversations you're going to have in this channel is all to help you get deeper in soul, to help you expand your consciousness, to help you elevate and reach a higher scale than you were when you first heard this video. So I really want to get deep with you, love. Me and Elizabeth have deep freaking soul freaking talks, my love. And a lot of it helps us not only in our journey, but it also expands our level of consciousness to the extent where we're helping so many beautiful souls that really need to hear this message. And so when we talk soul, when we talk consciousness, when we talk aligning with this energy, this is union. This is your person. This is your twin flame. This is the stuff that you should talk about and feel into and be in, because this is you emulating the very energy that brings in your twin flame. I want to just kind of break it down for everyone because, again, there's a lot of people that are suffering. There's a lot of people that are asleep. And then there's also a lot of people that are just ready to like get deep in their spiritual journey. And so why do we talk soul? What is soul? What is consciousness? Why aligning with this energy? Why does this have anything to do with our journey? And what does this do for your connection?
Okay, so you and I were just getting deep before we hit record, and we were talking about how when we are asleep, we are actually living through the subconscious mind. We are interacting with people through the subconscious thoughts and patterns. We are actually living through the subconscious parts of our mind. We are engaging, interacting, living as these patterns of thoughts and experiences that have been formulated from the time we were young and keep like getting re-emulated, I guess is the best way I could describe it, in all of our interactions. So let me give you an example. When you have a trigger, most people, their natural reaction is to go straight to sleep and go to the subconscious, which is like this protective mechanism of how to react when you get hurt. And you revert to this subconscious part of you because the conscious part has to experience the pain to release it. So what is soul? Soul is the conscious observer. You are embodying the conscious one that sees the mind get upset, that watches the mind experience these energies, that watches what is coming up through you. And a lot of people, when they feel things, they don't want to feel them. So they revert to the protective mechanism of the subconscious. And so what is soul? Soul is the one that observes. It is the one that watches. Well, when we align with soul, what we're really doing is we're learning to really separate ourselves from the subconscious, which means all of the preferences we've had our entire lives, all of the expectations we've held on to our entire lives, and all of the judgments we've held on to our entire lives. We are learning to watch those without preference. There is no good or bad. There just is. And really feeling into this energy of soul, which is purely an energy of love, doesn't allow for you to be in the same energy of fear that mind likes to reside in, that the subconscious likes to reside in. So when you became awakened in your spiritual journey, you're constantly learning how to release duality. And it's hard. It really is hard because it's like this auto mechanism inside our minds, that protection mechanism I spoke to, right? A lot of people would say like, flight. That's the protective mechanism of the subconscious. And when you're conscious, you're now in this place where you're now sitting with it. You're not running, you're not fighting, you're not fleeing. You're sitting with it and watching it as it goes through you. But what that does for a lot of people is it makes them have to drudge up those painful energies that have been stuffed away for so long, and making them have to recognize them. Something that they didn't want to recognize, they're now having to sit with. So I want to talk about this because I think it's really important. We talked to a beautiful soul the other day who was doing amazing in her ascension journey. And she was like flying, right? She was ascending and growing every time we talked to her. And it's been a little while, and we we talked to her, and she was triggered recently, and it's like her protective mechanism kicked on, and she went straight back to sleep. And in talking to her, we realized that this trigger that was brought up for her through her person was actually something that was very, very deep rooted from her childhood. And I think that natural thing is, I'm going to go back to sleep because I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to feel hurt. And this is how it keeps me from feeling those energies. Whereas when you are awakened, when you stay awake, you have to be able to see the thoughts and energies that are not you, and you have to separate yourself from those stories. And we've identified as those stories the thoughts, the energies, the circumstances for our entire lives, that it can sometimes be a little daunting to have to separate ourselves from them. And so that's the difference between being asleep and being awakened, is you're consciously okay with watching what's coming up because you're not in a place of judgment. You're not in a place of preference. You are just watching. And that's what this journey takes when you really want to work on your ascension. It's this daily challenging of yourself to stay conscious, to release the duality. And when you can do that, you're like on another level. You're starting to get to this other level. And we want to teach you guys that here. We want to show you guys that. And you'll notice, like, when you hear people talking about their journey, look at the questions. Questions are from mind. Trying to figure this stuff out is from mind. Soul is just being. The most beautiful parts of life take place when you're just being. And yet, we don't be enough. We're doing. We're trying to figure out. We're going through scenarios over and over in our heads. We're ruminating on things. We're living asleep. We're living as the subconscious thought patterns that are ruminating in our head over and over again. But being awakened, that's this now moment. That's no repetitiveness. There is no repetitiveness in the now moment. It's new. It's now. It's never duplicated. No matter what it is, it's never duplicated. Soul is never duplicated. The mind you could duplicate over and over and over and over again. Soul is watching, because this is such a deep topic, and we're going to have to like really break it down probably in smaller chunks, because you and I, man, we fly with this stuff, but we understand that for a lot of people that are sort of still, you know, 1 foot in their awakening and 1 foot still focused on their person, that this stuff can be hard to resonate with when the mind's in addictive energy. The mind doesn't want to hear this stuff. It doesn't want to lose its power. It really wants to stay in control of your daily in and out processes.
I think the reason why we are always ascending, me and you, is because we have no choice. Not only do we have to keep ascending because we are permanently balancing like our people every day, but we also have all of you guys. And when we talk to you and we hear you, we can clearly see the energies. And the energies are really simple. The energies of mind, the energy of fear is the energy of separation consciousness. The energy of soul, the energy of love, is the energy of unity consciousness. It's the energy of union. The energy of how and when your twin flame can be in your space. And so when we can see your energies, spot the energies, allow you to see when you're in soul and allow you to see when you're in mind, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a one and done, right? We just gave you a very simple example. We have a client that we've been working with, seeing them fly, seeing them manifest their person. And then after some while of not working on your spiritual journey, not working on your ascension, something can trigger you with your person, and then you go back to sleep. And I'm sitting with Elizabeth and I'm like, oh my gosh, how is it that we can go back to sleep? You know, like, I know that every day consciously I have to stay awake because I have an actual physical person that like breathes next to me that tells me when I'm in mine. I get that. But what about those beautiful souls that don't have their physical person with them? Now what? How are they going to stay ascending? How are they going to keep aligning with soul and even get close to bringing in their person if they can literally get back into mind, go back to sleep, and make the journey about their person again? right? It was like a really instant, quick shift. And Elizabeth was absolutely right. As soon as you are aligning with soul, making this journey about you, you now become the journey. And you are now in unity consciousness, right? Your person comes in, your person is in your space, your person triggers the F out of you. You lost all of the focus on you. You've lost all of the lining on you. And now you've made it about your person and everything inside that needs to be worked through so you can align with soul again is painful, right? So I don't want to like get deep and start feeling into this stuff that hurt me when I was little, Joanna Elizabeth. I don't want to feel that. So let me just stay in mind and let me just keep focusing on my person because it's easier. It's comfortable. I know how it feels to make my person the issue, right? It's using your person as a pacifier to stay asleep. And really, every single time the mind goes back to your person, you're going back to separation consciousness because your person is you. So when you choose to stay conscious, and this beautiful soul, by the way, by the time we were done with our call, I was starting to see them come back. It is spiritual muscles. It is spiritual stamina. It is how do I stay awakened and conscious and to keep working on my ascension journey when I don't have my person with me all the time, even though they're the catalyst for this journey. The journey is you. And so if you want to see more of your person, you align with soul and make the journey about you. Yeah, it's easier said than done, right? It's easier said than done. But how do you work through your journey and align with soul when your person's triggered the F out of you? And you have all these things that are coming up for you that reminded you when you were left behind, when you weren't chosen, when you weren't made priority. And each of those pain that you experience has to be faced and released so you can realign back to soul. It is the subconscious part of us that goes back to sleep. It's very comforting. And what was it earlier, Elizabeth? We were talking about how when you go back to sleep, it's like that part of you that is using the mind to feel better, even though it doesn't make you better, really, because it's just clouding the conscious moment. It's clouding this present moment.
So, Jan, I'll be really honest with everybody. I won't go into details, but I will say that I had an experience just recently where I went straight into the subconscious mind. I basically fell asleep. And when I was analyzing it as the conscious one through soul right now, like it was like, holy smokes, I realized what I was doing and I felt the energy associated, but it was almost like I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I realized, holy smokes, that's what it feels like to be asleep. Because I practice consciousness so much throughout the day and I'm so balanced that when something happened that did put me straight into mind and I literally reacted through the subconscious defense mechanisms of like my past. And it was like, holy smokes, I felt asleep, if that could make sense. Like I felt like I was not awakened and the one choosing how I was responding. It was almost like this habitual response that has taken over me just through how I would have reacted when I was asleep. And I think that's how most of us live and survive our entire lives while we're asleep. Is like something happens, we react, and we react through patterns. We don't consciously choose what we're doing. It just is like we're on autopilot. That's the best way I could say it. What happened to me yesterday when I went into mind, it was like the subconscious went on autopilot and I could watch it and I felt it. Like I felt gross from this energy, but I didn't know how to stop it and I didn't know how to recognize it for what it was. I was not conscious of myself being unconscious, or if that clarifies it.
Yeah. And I also, you made me think of, so the Samadhi movie, there was a section in there where he talks about the subconscious is always going to go back to the same patterns over and over, even if it isn't the best and highest good for the soul, right? So the same repetitive patterns that you were in before, that cycle, it goes back to that subconsciously. And we go back to sleep without even knowing that we are not evolving, we're not expanding, we're not growing, we're not in soul anymore. We're not in soul anymore. We literally went back to mind. What I want to truly understand with you, love, is how does that work? How can someone be conscious, aligning with soul, knowing how this journey works, knowing and seeing your person pushes and pulls based on your energy, and because your person has triggered you so much, you go back to sleep, kind of like what you said. You go back into that pattern that
So let me
so
tell you what happened.
deep-rooted.
Let me tell you what happened with me. So basically, there was something that happened, something was said that my mind got offended by. And immediately, because I didn't want to feel the pain of why that hurt so much, what was said hurt so much, because it really did trigger something from childhood of not feeling worthy, not feeling good, not feeling heard, that instead, like, I immediately went to sleep in that conversation and started reacting with the subconscious thought patterns of projecting really angry words, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it surprised me, even because that is not how I normally live my life anymore. But basically what it felt like, it almost felt like when something was said that hurt, I didn't want to feel anything. And it was almost like this switch was turned on to fall asleep. So I didn't have to feel what was stirred up. And that was how I pushed down those feelings. And instead of feeling and releasing those feelings, what came out instead was other energies of anger, other energies of just really low vibration energies were spewed out, instead of me sitting with the real energies that were trying to surface. But it really did feel like a switch was turned on, and suddenly I call myself Elizabeth now, like ever since my awakening. It felt like Liz, and that's who I was before. Everyone called me Liz. That was the sleep. That's what I referred to as my sleep self. It felt like Liz took over. The subconscious took over without me being aware.
Yeah.
And really what got me out of it was you, Joanne. You were like, I think you're in mind, like we won't go into all of the ins and outs of the conversation, but it was like as soon as you held the flashlight up of, hey, you're in mind right now, what's going on? I felt I felt that switch that was turned off earlier in the day. I felt it come back on. And it was like, I switched immediately from that subconscious part of me that was trying to protect myself to the conscious part that was like, why did that hurt so much? What was I trying to avoid in that conversation that I went to sleep? And it was really like, okay, I'm ready now to get deep with what it was, and I'm ready to observe it now as soul and know that it wasn't me. And I think that's the difference between when people stay asleep and when they can wake up, because I feel like I woke back up really quickly when you called me out. And I feel like for others that aren't practicing this as habitually as you and I are, it's going to take a lot longer for them to snap out almost of that subconscious state, like that
instantly.
I was in yesterday.
And that's what I saw from our client that literally looked like they went back to sleep. And because I know how the energy works, it was almost like I can see her twin flame on the other side who saw her closer to her. Her person was seeing her close to her, right? Every time she's aligning with soul. In fact, she would see her person. And then now that she's in mind, her person's getting further and further away. And then she's getting further and further away because she's now making it about her person. And so the part of us that wants to make it about our person, make it to where we're no longer facing our conscious moments awakened, right? That, let's get real. That's going back to sleep. It's going back to sleep. This is painful. Let me bring my energy of anger or pain or whatever inside. Let me bring that out because it's easier to stay subconscious than be conscious and realign back to soul. right? Your example and the way that we were seeing this beautiful client we were helping. And like I said, by the end of the call, I could see the light again. I could start seeing her go back to her ascension. I could start seeing her make this journey about her. That's what's really cool with this journey for all of you, is everything is in the now. So wherever you were 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, an hour ago, no matter how far you've pushed, no matter how much you got into mind, being able to snap out of the subconscious, being able to stay conscious, it might be hard to feel the pain that got you to go back to sleep, right? For example, for Elizabeth, it was the pain that she had to feel again consciously. She had to see that she was in pain and had to feel them in this now moment so that she can actually be present. And for the client we were talking about, she had to really feel the pain. And so sometimes we don't want to feel the pain. Sometimes we want, we get triggered, our person triggers us, and we get stuck in that, like, why aren't they choosing me? Why am I last? Am I not worthy? All these wounds, like abandonment wounds that are stuck, deep core wounds, deep rooted inside, that has to be faced, released, and let go. Or you stay in mind, you stay in the stories, and you stay in that separation consciousness that keeps you both apart. Because that's what I kept seeing. The way she would shift back into soul and mind, I kept seeing her person closer to her and further away, closer and further away. And that's what you're all doing. The more and more you focus on going back to sleep and being the subconscious again, the one that hid from the now with the stories and making the journey about your person, you're clouding the now moment, and you're pushing your person further and further away. The beautiful part, and this is the conscious part, the part of you that just shifts, that's the part of you that realigns. That's the part of you that reawakens. That's the part of you that goes back to ascension. And what I want to really understand, love, is what's the difference between that moment where I said, hey, you're in mine, you snapped out of it, and other beautiful souls where they're in mine, we tell them they're in mine, and they go back and stay in mine and still talk about stories, still talk about their person, still talk about making it about their person. It's like, do they just choose to go back to sleep and not know they're staying asleep? Or is it because their mind won't let them move on to soul until they've released this energy of mind?
I think it's that switch that I was talking about, that because I felt the energetic switch. That's the best way I could say it. I felt the energetic switch shut me to subconscious, like push me into the subconscious. And then I felt the energetic switch come back on when I awakened back up. So it's almost like there's some kind of switch there that they don't know how to bring back to the conscious.
How do you unswitch yourself when you don't have someone? And that's why we do the one-on-one calls. We tell our clients, hey, you're in mind, get out of it and get back into soul. Why do me and Elizabeth, how can we do that? We do that because our people remind us when we're not in soul. And not only that, me and Elizabeth call each other out. Elizabeth just told you, I called her out. She does the same for me. Hey, you're in mind right now. And then I do the shift. But how do you do the shift when you don't know you're in mind? If I didn't tell you in that moment, hey, you're in mind, would you have known to get out of mind? Would you have known you were subconsciously
I think I would have,
not in
but
soul?
it wouldn't have been at that moment. It would have been, I think, when I was like intentionally trying to align with presence, almost about something else. I think it would have switched me back into the soul mode. But, and here's the big but, it wouldn't have helped me release what was trying to come through me. And that's where those reoccurring triggers come.
That's why our clients that get triggered by their twin flame, they're triggered. But hey, guess what? Even if you're triggered this moment right now, if you don't work through that, you're going to keep getting triggered. You're going to keep getting triggered day in and day out and day in and day out. And you're going to keep going back to sleep until you work and release them.
I said, I'm so grateful that I have you to help me through this, because even us with how balanced we are,
The way you said it was like, other than you and my person,
Yeah.
you're both
Nobody else challenges
you're
me
both
to ascend.
allowing me to expand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what your people is doing for you guys. They're allowing you guys to expand to your levels of consciousness to get deeper in soul. That's why they're pulling. They're pulling to show you to get back into soul. I know the mind doesn't want to do it. Obviously, it's not for the mind to do. And like Elizabeth said, you might go back to sleep until you realize, hey, I've been in mind. And then you shift through it. And maybe that's why so many people experience like deep, crazy triggers that are like so crazy where they're just like, I'm done. And then they have that deep surrender, or they have a deep, dark night again, because there's so much mind to still be released before you can get deeper and realigning with soul. It's such a hard, difficult journey to always expand. This is how you know you're in the twin flame journey. If you're just like in the dinner table talking about like, you did this to me and I did this to you, oh, I'm so sorry, right? That's what I was telling our client yesterday. If this was just one of those, then that's what that connection would be. And it's a soulmate, and that's fine. But holy freaking crap, I got deep-rooted wounds that I'm dealing with. I got all these things that are coming up for me to help me become the better version of me. And I have to keep working on it, right? This is why we're always ascending. Because if you don't, you go back to sleep. You go back to mind, your person's further and further away from you. And it's not just for your person, but like, what a wake-up call, I would say. It was a wake-up call for this client to realize they were in mind, because they weren't willing to see it until they saw that their person pulled. I would say they thought they were still ascending, even though they weren't working on their spiritual journey, because they needed to see their person pull to know, I've been in mind. But you've been in mind, right? You've been in mind, and what it took for you to see you're in mind is the after effect. But our people show us instantly. We tell you guys their face pulls. It pulls instantly. It's just that the mind doesn't want to hear it or see it. And then when we recognize it, where it's like bright light in front of us, we're like, oh shoot, I've been in mind. Let me get back into soul. Let me find out what's coming up for me, because it's clouding my now moment. And this is that work. This is that shift. This is the snapping out of the mind, snapping out of the subconscious, and choosing to stay conscious, choosing to stay aligned with your energy that brings you together. That's the union energy. The union energy is unity consciousness. And why do we keep talking about it? Well, we keep talking about it is because unity consciousness is you being one with everything, and you are your twin flame. So your twin flame is there too. It's just when you're in mind and your subconscious takes over, it's hard for you to align with unity consciousness, because you're now in the separation consciousness, which keeps your twin flame away. These are some deep conversations, my loves. And when you get deep like this, you start seeing the mind for what it is. When you start getting triggered, you see it for what it is. Holy crap, I've been in stories, I've been in mind. Holy freaking crap, I went to sleep. I think that was like the big revelation for you, love, when I heard you say, what the heck, I was asleep.
I kept saying like, I felt the energy, and I felt grossed by the energy, but it was like the stuff that was coming out of me wasn't even like the stuff I was talking about.
It wasn't your conscious self that was talking.
It wasn't.
And that's really cool now that we're awakened. We are now awakened to recognize when we go back to sleep and we start talking like our asleep self. We can now watch it and be like, yeah, no, this is not me. And how crazy it was that used to be us. We were literally spewing out mind energy to everyone, including our people, without even knowing it. You know, and what did you say, love, when you were with your person, you didn't even know that all you were doing was giving?
When I was in before separation, when we were living together, and my energy was really toxic, very similar to how it was yesterday. I didn't know I didn't know was living. I felt like I was literally on autopilot the entire time by the subconscious. So everything he did when it triggered me, it was like defense mechanism, defense mechanism, defense mechanism, like passive aggressive, passive aggressive, passive aggressive. That's how my defense mechanism, that's how my mind protects itself, is through that strategy.
Almost like mine is protecting you, but really giving you a disservice to get into soul.
Yes. Yeah. Because you can't get into soul when you are identified as
mine.
The stories. You're identifying as the stories that are hurting you, and you're projecting the anger and all of these energies. You're trying to push them away from you so you don't have to feel them yourself. And that's what I was doing. So I was things were triggering me, and instead of me having to sit with that and feel that, I was pushing them out to my person or to anybody else around me, like in this way of, take this off of me because I can't feel it. I don't want to feel this, so take it. And then it was like that release. And I used to say this about someone that was close to me growing up, was that they lived in a state of, they would call me up and they would vent. They would walk away feeling way better, and I would walk away feeling drowned in their energy, and I didn't know what it was at the time. But that's essentially what we're doing with our people. Is like, we are drowning them with our energy of mind when we're not aligned with soul, and we are suffocating them with that toxic energy, whether we're actually in the physical with them or we're in separation. As long as we're staying in that place of energy focused on them, we're pushing all of that really low fear-based energy of separation onto them.
And that's a difference between separation phase 1, where we're making it all about them, and then you go to separation phase 2, and then you're like, what is this?
What were we saying, Joanne? We were saying that separation
you said it.
And balancing phase 1. When you're in either separation, separation phase 1 or balancing phase 1, you are really in the subconscious. You're really going back to the subconscious each time. But when you're separation phase 2, you're now choosing to remain conscious through everything that's coming up. And the same thing with balancing phase 2. You're choosing to stay conscious and allowing these energies to work through you, instead of being in the subconscious and pushing these energies out.
Going back to sleep. What we are doing, me and Elizabeth are doing, is we're constantly reawakening all of you to stay awakened, so that you can stay awakened in your journey. You can stay awakened in your spiritual ascension and not go back to sleep and allow the subconscious to go back in autopilot. This is where the shifts happen, my love. When you stay awakened, you stay conscious, you watch the energies of mind that wants to push, the energies of mind that wants to spew out all the addictive energy to other people and your person, and you pull it all in. You work with it, right? That's the difference between separation phase 2 and balancing phase 2, is whether our people are with us or not, we're pulling in our own energy and we're working through it so that we can align with soul and stay in soul, so we can stay conscious. And this is also a beautiful example for all of you guys, that me and Elizabeth are not perfect. We're gonna get in mind too. And when we get in mind, it's like, oh my gosh, freaking A. Like Elizabeth was so cute when she said, I went back to sleep. Like that wasn't me anymore. I wasn't conscious. How is it that we can watch ourselves get lost in the mind? And we can watch it consciously now because we've been so conscious and aligning with soul. And then how quickly is it that you can get lost in the subconscious, go back to sleep, and forget who you are. And I kept telling that to our beautiful soul, who by the time we were hanging up, like, she was back. She was back. And I'm like, I feel bad for her person, because as soon as she goes back into soul, he'll see her again. He can finally see her again. The problem, though, is a lot of you guys who are staying asleep with the stories and the situations that are clouding your person to see you.
Joanne, for those of you that know, who have worked with us, we've actually told you guys about something that we just recently created. It's called a union maintenance bundle, and it's coaching sessions with us. And they're usually They can be with the urgent session at a actually discounted regular session rate. And the reason we specifically created that is because you and I, Joanne, we talked about what was the best thing that helped me shift continuously to be able to stay with my person without going and staying asleep, essentially, and being in mind and pushing my person. And it was me being able to talk to you when I was in mind, and you being able to call me out and bring me back to the place of soul before I pushed any of those toxic energies back to my person. And so we created this coaching bundle for you guys because we wanted to be able to offer you guys essentially that same service, really, because this is hard. You can't just pick up the phone and call any person you know. You can't. It doesn't work like that with this energy.
They're going to have you push. They will literally put you back in mind. They're going to go back to your asleep self, and then you go back to sleep, and then you push on your person because they don't know this journey. They don't know that you have to neutralize your energy. They don't know. They're giving you the best advice they can asleep.
They're basically giving you subconscious advice.
Yeah. And then when you are able to get the neutralized energy, realign with soul, you snap back out of it. You go back into soul, and
we basically we turn that light switch on for you. Basically, what I experienced yesterday, we're there to help you turn that, because a lot of times you don't even know that the light switch has been turned off, and yet you're in that addictive push energy.
And that's why so many people loop, is because they go back to the subconscious self of them that was an autopilot, that was just an addictive energy, spewing it out to others, especially their person. And then they're trying to figure out why their person's pulling. Well, like, you're projecting so many things that needs to be worked in internally out to your person and others that doesn't serve not only you, but like your person. Your person doesn't know you're spewing it out to them. They just can't be in your space. They just have to pull. They just got to go. But that same light, and that's what I was saying about this client and this situation for you guys, is everything is in the now. So as soon as you shift back into the now, you turn on that light switch on and turn that light back on, realign with yourself and make this journey about you. The freaking energy shifts. You shift. You go back into soul. You start aligning with the true you, and you become awakened. You stay conscious. And you start seeing the energy for what it is with your person. Staying conscious allows you to stay in the space where your light switch is always on and your person can see you. That's the shift. Keeping your light on in that union balanced energy. Being able to maintain that energy. And then here's the crazy part. You accidentally turned it off. Well, you got to snap out of it, my love. All of you. Snap out of the stories. Snap out of the triggers that made it to where it's about your person again. And you got to start turning that light back on, or at least trying to clear out the space that's getting you in the way to where you can't get out of mind. This is why the journey is so hard, is sometimes we don't realize we're clouding ourselves from seeing the light of realigning back to soul, realigning back to who you are and making this journey about you. Because the more and more you do that, the more and more your person can finally see you again. They're on the other side waiting for you. It's just too dark to see it when you have the stories, the triggers, and things that make it about them. And then as soon as you turn on the light, they're on the other side. And it's just like this emulated bubble of peace. And it's like, there you are. That's what I said to our client. There you are. I see you. Because soul is pure light. Stay awakened, stay balanced, and stay aligned to the true you. Not just for your person, but for you. Because it feels amazing to be in soul. It's the only thing that's going to make all the pain go away anyway. It's also the part of you that is free. Because wouldn't you say, love, being asleep and feeling that energy of the subconscious, it's like a cover in your eye, right? And you
Yeah.
don't
In a
even know that your
blindfold.
eyes were covered. Yes.
Yeah. It's what I
Yes.
said before, like when I used that analogy with the window fogging up, it was like I was driving with the window fogging. I could see enough to not get in an accident. So I was on
Yeah.
autopilot. I could navigate myself in my daily life, but I stopped really seeing details of everything that was going on around me while I was
Yeah.
in that state. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it wasn't until you awakened, you turn on the defroster and you're like clear light and you could see everything. You see your person, you could see the energies that was causing everything to be so foggy. And you get to be awakened. You get to be the awakened one. You get to be the balanced one. You get to be in that energy of soul. We love you all so much. We hope this video allowed you to shift, reawaken. If you've been seeing yourself be in that subconscious energy of mind, separation consciousness, I hope it allowed you to snap out of it and allowed that part of you that was asleep or going back to sleep to reawaken and remind you who you are. We love you guys so much. We hope you have an amazing day. Bye, love.
Bye, love.